Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Pink Moon Lodge with your hosts, Amy Kruzik and Patti Lucia. In this week's episode, we explore the importance of finding balance when in service to others, how Amy's father walked his talk, and visit the world's largest free kitchen run by all volunteers. Enjoy!
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Pink Moon Lodge with your hosts, Patti Lucia and
Amy Kruzik.
And we are so happy to be with you again today. We are focusing on a very important topic today, to us anyway. It's something that we've talked about a lot, and that is service to self versus service to others. It is something that you've probably heard debated in religious circles or spiritual circles. And so we're going to dive into the topic today. Of course, Amy is, and this is, again, this is Amy's theme park because Amy's got to have her theme. And she's also, you've been having a lot of fun with being more humorous. So that little no, what is it? No shirt, no shoes, no service. What would Jesus do? That was all Amy. That was all Amy. I know some people might look at that and say, "Oh, Patty's being silly." Nope. This time Amy is coming out of her silly
You
closet.
brought in the Jesus part.
You
did. Brought in the WWJD.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Jesus. We're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Jesus is just all right with me.
Yeah, Jesus is just all right with me.
Yeah.
And if people don't know the history behind that sign, it was about the hippies back in the 70s.
Yeah, who looked very much like Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah. They didn't want them in their stores.
Didn't want them. No, long haired, barefoot.
Yep. No. So interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus could have been among them. I don't know.
Exactly.
Could have been.
Exactly.
There are people who, think that might have happened. Jesus did return and you kicked him out of your store.
Yes. Oh my goodness. What kind of service is that?
Exactly. Exactly. So we had a lot of fun with putting together the title, but the theme is something that's kind of important to us and something that's really widely debated, among spiritual people and religious people. So we're going to take a look at what different religions say about service to others. I've got one of my favorite examples of service to others that we're gonna share, and we're gonna share our experiences because Amy and I both share the experience of taking service to others, being out of balance with our service to others, and a lot of our listeners may relate to this. I think, like falling into that martyr role.
Yes, definitely.
Right. Of giving everything, just not really taking care of yourself, but just giving everything until you're completely burnt out or depleted, or your health is suffering, or all kinds of things. And I think both of us have had that experience. So there is a question about balance. If you are committed to service to self, when is it out of balance? So we'll share a bit of that.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't think you're out of balance. Like, no, I'm not out of balance, but definitely it took I think an awakening for me in that part of martyrdom for me. But I'd like to start out with the definition of service, because I like to start with definitions.
Because that's you.
I have my own definition of service, and I like to look in the dictionary because it's like, oh, interesting. But service
this is structure.
This is structure.
Yeah.
I like to. So there were 9 definitions of service, believe it or not. I'm only going to give you the first one that was about action of helping and doing work for someone. So then they had an act of assistance. There's a period of employment that's a service, which you and I both did, working with children. Well, they have the use of a machine as a service, and employment as a servant.
Oh, right, right.
That was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So that's like a person who performs duties, like domestic duties or personal assistant, or
Yeah.
they even had like government servant. I thought that was kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, I mean, hey,
Servant of God too.
yeah, or they're servants, politicians are supposed to be servants of the people, but yeah,
I don't.
we're not going to get into that.
No, no,
No, not on
no,
this
because
show.
that's
We're
not.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to get mad.
No.
We want to have
Oh,
fun.
yeah, we want to have fun. Okay, push that one out. Bye.
All right.
Um, but yeah, so I think for me, service started young because I was shown action. And to
Mm,
me, service to me was about actions and not just words, you know.
mm,
I
mm,
think my dad taught us that. For me, not I shouldn't say my whole family, but for me, he taught me that the benevolent kind of heart. I mean, I could think of things like he would volunteer. So muscular dystrophy was his big thing, and I
mm,
would go with him, and we would just on the marathon day with Jerry Lewis, not
mm,
with Jerry Lewis wherever he was, but there was like a satellite.
mm,
So volunteer there and volunteer for your neighbor cutting their grass. There were so many people at his funeral that came up to my mom and said, your husband used to cut my grass. And she's like, really? What was, like, so my dad would just do things.
mm.
I'm
For
saying
others.
from
Mm-hmm.
his heart, if he felt it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I felt I learned to volunteer because I did volunteer as a young child with him, and
Mm-hmm.
then in my 20s, 30s, 40s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's beautiful. I would like to say that I had an example like that. But I didn't. I mean, growing up though, from a really young age, um I wanted to volunteer myself. So there were things that I wanted to do. Like I was as a teenager, I coached a girls
mm,
softball team
mm-hmm.
at our church, so I did coaching. I served around
Yeah.
our neighbors or whatever. And from a young age, I liked serving by making people food. So from a
Yes.
young age, I
Yes.
was someone who really liked making food for people. Um, and I think from a young age, my when I thought of a profession, I thought of like a I didn't think of it like consciously at the time, but I thought of, service position, which would be teaching. So
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
are professions that are associated with service, like
Mm-hmm.
teaching,
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, nursing,
Mm-hmm.
etc.,
Mm-hmm.
that are very much associated with serving a broader community. So I wanted to do something like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
being an accountant or,
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Because
yeah.
there's something about kids, right? That you just for me, I mean, I'm speaking for
Hmm.
myself. It's just
Hmm.
there's just so much reward in a way that just fills my heart when you're
Hmm.
with kids. I mean, they're just so
Hmm.
open. I worked with young kids, you worked more with teenagers, but
Hmm.
there's just something about that. And it's not a thing of I'm taking from the kids, like, give me my reward. I need to feel good.
Hmm.
I mean, I went to work where I knew to not do that. Like,
Hmm.
give me that, because there are some teachers that actually would ask children for hugs. Give me a hug. I need one today. I'm
Oh
sad.
yeah. Mm,
So it's
yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no,
That's
no.
just that's just creepy.
That's a
I'm sorry.
little,
I
yeah.
guess
And they
that's a little
would.
judgmental on my part, but
No, Patty,
no,
it just did
we're not.
not feel right to me. And
Hmm.
it was a little like, no, you're not even
Yeah, it's kind
cringe,
of like
cringe worthy.
yeah, it's like a parasitic
Yes.
relationship when it comes to the energy of children, because children will give you joy. Like
Oh,
children are these
this,
joyful little beings. They're full of energy, and it's wonderful to be around them. So, I know you mentioned that, I worked mostly with teenagers, and it was just always my thing. I liked
yeah,
working with teenagers, and I did that. But I have to tell you that recently, like one of my experiences being up here in Georgia, I have to tell you, is I go to the YMCA. And
yeah.
so I'm on this regiment now where I'm I go 3 to 5 times a week, and I include swimming as part of my workout. I do the weights, and then I go swimming and everything. And at this particular YMCA, of course, it's summer. So it's like little summer YMCA groups
Yes,
and
I
everything.
remember those times.
So
Yes.
you walk into the YMCA, and there's the din of children, and you just see them
Yes.
with with the staff person walking in a line, and they all have their little lunch
Mm,
boxes and their little, whatever. And in the pool area, they're getting on their little life
Paddle
preservers and
things.
jumping in
Yeah.
the pool, and they're squealing and they're dancing around the pool. And there's all of this just joyful energy all around. So you would think, oh, wow, I can't swim in peace. And I was talking to another person, and they're like, wow, it's really loud when the children are here. And I was thinking, I
Ah,
really like that
I
stuff.
know.
It's
I
just, I
love it.
can't, it's just, you can't help but smile when you are around that
Oh, you
energy of
can't.
so many children just kind of running around and being
Squealing.
playful and squealing, and and singing, and doing their kid stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a joy. So I'm in the adult pool, doing my laps, but as I'm doing it, I'm hearing all of this squealing and laughing,
I know.
and children's din of the children's pool, next to me. So and that's a joyful experience. So anyway, I just have to say that
Yeah.
I get that about being around children, but there are people who who, again, they might approach something like working with children in a way, whether they're being conscious of it or not, they're
Mm-mm.
thinking about what they can get from that
Yeah.
experience, that energy, that openness of being around children, because children, um, they're not
And
conscious of it, but they're giving
I
so
know.
much of their energy and their joy.
And
Um,
to me, that's a mirror for what am I depleted in then?
mm-hmm,
They're great, kids are great mirrors for
mm-hmm,
that. I mean, everybody would be
mm-hmm.
a great mirror for that. So service would be, if I'm doing this service to be fulfilled, to me, that's not what it's for.
No,
No, to me,
no.
it's
So if you're working with children, we'll be talking much more
yeah.
about this later on, because for both Amy and I, children are extremely important, and we've come to it
Mhm.
from different places. I mean, you
Yeah.
are a mother. I'm not, but we have pretty much spent our lives dedicated to
Yeah.
children, whether they are our own children, or other people's
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's been a really big part of what we think about when we think about service to others in our lives. That it involves children. I don't know if I shared this or last. I'm not sure if I shared this already. Pardon me if I have, but like in this new chapter of my life, it's like when I'm semi-retirement, I'm thinking, what are some of the things that are going to be important for me to do now? And definitely
Yeah.
one of them has to do with working with children, in some continuing to
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that still remains,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
feeding
You
people.
see.
And if I can combine the two, even better.
Yes. Tell us about your experience the other day.
Yeah. So speaking of service to others, well, I am my cousins are involved in a church which I have a tremendous amount of respect for. So I have to say, I'm not a church person. I'm not an organized religion kind of person, but the activities of this church have made me sit up and
Mm-hmm.
pay attention and say, Oh, I have an awful lot of respect for what these people are doing on many different levels. So I have begun to participate in some of the things that my cousins are participating in, and one of them
Yeah.
is this food distribution that happens every other week. And so as soon as my cousin Vicky said, "Oh, there's a food distribution our church does every other week. Would you like to participate?" I was like, "Absolutely,
Sign
I
me
want to."
up.
It has to do with food, distributing to people
Yeah.
who are in need. I want to see what this is all about. So I went this past week, and basically what their church has done is they've organized all of this all of these food donations that arrive in a couple of big trucks,
Hmm.
and they're pallets of food. I mean, the
Yeah.
pallets of meat, vegetables, milk, yogurt, just bread, all kinds of. It's just it's really an amazing operation, and you have cars lined up, and the cars move slowly through, and we all have a job. I was distributing yogurt. I was the
Hmm.
yogurt
Yogurt queen.
I was the yogurt queen. And so in every car, and they know to kind of pop their trunk or their hatch,
Yeah.
and we would put the food in the back of their car and move on. And of course, share exchanges, with them. And it was lovely as the families moved through, and there were hundreds. There was just a long line of cars, and so it was an impressive operation. And it was like they needed a quite a big group of volunteers to do this. I mean, this
Yeah.
is, there's a
Yeah.
lot involved. And so I got to work with a group of volunteers who were all just really, super people who were out spending a couple of hours on their, on an afternoon, working to
Yes.
put food in the back of
Serve.
cars for
Yeah. Doing
families
service. I
doing
love that.
service. And so there was the experience of being part of that and helping so many people, but also being part of a group of volunteers who
Yeah.
were kind of sharing the load, working together, and having that experience together. So on a few different levels, it was definitely service for the community, but it wasn't something where any of us felt like we were taking it all on our own shoulders. So we were
Right.
able to kind of,
Distributed
yeah, we were
amongst
working.
amongst the people.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
think that's where you and I have in the past may have had our service to community a little out of balance. I know that I
Yeah.
have, when I've
Yeah.
taken things on all on my shoulders, doing it,
Yeah.
all myself, and
Yeah.
depleted myself.
Depleted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's almost as if I wanted something, just like the teacher with the child wanted something from that, like
Mm-hmm.
reciprocity, or I'm doing this to, even with
Mm-hmm.
amongst my own family, um,
Mm-hmm.
if they need money, or, if they need anything, I I had to learn that, though, the hard way. And my first mentor back in early 2000s helped me with that. So I had to do kind of like a 360, like, Amy, you're
Mm-hmm.
depleting. You're depleting yourself emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually, physically. And I had left the Catholic Church by then. But,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't but anyways, so I had to do a complete 360 and go back into me, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I have to do me first, but what does that look like?
Yeah.
I think for every individual, it looks different. But you
Yes.
have to know those little blind spots that you have, because it's a program to
Mm-hmm.
me. It was a program for me. It was like a feeding off of
Mm-hmm.
service
To do
to do
service
good
to
in the
others,
world,
to do good in
do
the
good
world.
in the world.
Well, it's kind of,
Uh,
it can become a kind of zealotry.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So I kind of had to learn that, and I had to learn my blind spots, and I had to.
Mm-hmm.
So I do question myself a lot. Like, I always say, okay, why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
what are you looking? Are you looking to get something? Are you
Mm-hmm.
looking just to do? So to me, now I understand for myself what it means to come from the heart because I'm not looking for anything. It's like
Right.
when I'm done volunteering, I'm done.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
someone needs
Mm-hmm.
your help. Of course, I'm going to help you, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't look for anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it really does. And I think for every individual, it comes, it's just a feeling you need to know about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
totally, yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
get like this energy bank. So I think of it like an energy bank, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like a physically, emotionally, spiritually, what, what's depleted right now and
Mm-hmm.
bring them to balance. And whatever you need to do to bring that into balance is what you need to do.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, so when I think of like service to others in an out of balance way, in a way that where you're being a zealot, um is kind of with complete disregard for your own physical health, mental health, your in your own relationships, you know. And
Mhm.
so when I had my cafe, so there are a lot of people who
Yeah.
say that was a really wonderful cafe, and it was, but was um I was in a zealot mode in that it was this beautiful, nourishing little place, and people came in and they felt that energy. Um, and I were, you know, like I dedicated myself completely to that cafe.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought I was doing good in the world, that this little cafe was
Mhm.
an oasis for people to be nourished physically, emotionally, spiritually, when they came in. And so I gave everything
Yeah.
to this cafe and to this little vision I had. And then when it closed, um, it was it was gone. And I had to, and I remember talking to Andrew
Yeah.
Bartis shortly after, and he
Yeah.
said, yeah, you were in zealot mode,
Yeah.
and you completely, so basically now what you have to do is detoxify yourself from your martyrdom. You know,
Mhm.
you got you so what you got from it, actually you got financially depleted, physically depleted, you know,
Yeah.
emotionally depleted, because you know it was, I was married to it, and so honestly it was hard to even have a relationship
Yeah.
while I had the
Yeah.
cafe. It was the
Yeah.
demise of, you know, my relationship at that time, because I had no time or energy
Yeah.
for my partner. So I really sacrificed everything, like in all areas of my life. I didn't get to see my family. I didn't travel. I didn't, you know, it was all
Mhm.
very much like for 10 years I was quite anchored to that
Mhm.
place, and felt like, well, this is my service to others. This is, you know, what I do. And there were you know, and I thought that I would get something in return for it. Then that is like that is
Yes.
the, you know, like I'll get something, you know, that golden seed in heaven or whatever, you know, whatever it
Right.
is.
Whatever it is.
And it was really crushing when Andrew said, no, not really. No,
No.
you're gonna have to detoxify from that. And it
Because
took me a while
yeah.
to wrap my head around that, and to heal, um, you know, and it come to terms with that. And it's hard because I didn't want to negate everything. Like if I talk to anybody who'd ever been to my cafe, they're like, oh, that was a wonderful cafe. I wish it was still open, blah, blah, blah. You know, so
Mhm.
it wasn't like it didn't do good in the community.
Right.
Um, but
No.
it was, you know, it was
It's almost the life force within us. Like I don't think that before my first mentor with metaphysical mentor, it was like I didn't even know what that life force was because it wasn't really
mm-hmm,
in me. It wasn't
mm-hmm,
here, because I was in like autopilot,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then understanding all the energy and all that physical, emotional, spiritual energy,
Yeah.
then I slowly did that turnaround of an energy exchange, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's important too,
Well,
because
what do you,
service is when you give, to me, energy exchange would be um there, to me, there has to be an exchange for something, whether it's with bartering services, you know, whether it's I don't know the feeling, but it feels like that. It feels like, um, of course, paying for things. You pay like for classes or whatever, and you get something in exchange. It's like there's that even exchange of that. It could be
Mhm.
money, it could be services of like I'll do this and you could do that, and that would be the exchange.
Mhm.
Where I think I was giving all my energy,
Right. But do you
all
think
the
there should
energy.
always be an exchange?
Um,
So,
no, like service, yeah, but there
I
is an
mean, because
exchange
like
with
I
service.
understand that, but there are the service to like what do do you have an expectation of the children that you serve? Do you have
No.
like is
Yeah,
there
no
what kind of
expectations with
energy?
him.
Yeah, so I think when we say energy exchange, it's like it's kind of a little bit of a slippery slope. So are we saying that everything we do has to have an energy exchange?
No, no, no. Well, we are energy, right? So we
Yeah,
are
we are
giving
at
some
you
kind
know,
of
you know what I
exchange.
mean? Like, and there are people like, I don't give
And
my
I'm not,
services away for free. And I totally agree. Like
yeah,
you are, if you've learned a healing modality or whatever, or like
right.
for us, we're teachers where we have certain experiences that we have and we want to offer, if we offer a service or whatever, that they're obviously we're not giving our services away for
Right.
free. And that is true because people we see where that leads. But when we talk about service to others, that I think
Yes,
that
there
that's
is always an
there's
exchange there energetically, right? When you're passing out the yogurt, there's an exchange there, energy wise.
yeah, there's no expectation though. We just give,
No, no, no
you know,
expectations with it. Right, right, right. I guess I'm not clear on what I'm saying,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I can
So,
feel that. But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
can feel it, but I can't. It's like,
Yeah, and this is the crux, and I think that a lot of this is I think a sticking point for a lot of spiritual people is like I don't want to give any of my stuff for free. I'm there has to be an energy exchange, and I- you know and I think that that's true. However, do where does service to others come in to play? Because I do think that's important. That's an important component in us feeling connected to other humans. So, volunteer work, participating in, feeding the hungry,
yeah,
but, whatever that is, I think that is an important, that's an important aspect of a spiritual practice. And so in religions, it could look like
yeah,
charity, it could look like serve. And that's why in most religions around the world, there is this core belief that there should be some kind of service to others as part of your religious practice. And
exact.
so,
Yes,
and
I
and
agree
I
with that.
don't, yeah, and I don't think like for people who do alternative spirituality that that's necessarily a
It is an
core.
overused, yeah, it is an overused energy exchange. It is an overused, I think, uh, concept,
What
let's
is?
say, energy exchange.
Yeah,
It's an
yeah,
overused concept. It's an
yeah.
overused concept.
It's like I don't, I don't. So when people say that, I'm like, well, what do you
Yeah,
mean? It's not like I think, oh, we should give everything away, for free,
no.
but there is great value in um in giving to others without expectation.
Oh, for
Now,
sure. Yeah,
making
that,
sure, like, so for instance, and this is the out of balance stuff. So there are the zealots who believe they should give away all of their skills and their services for free because now they're in this martyrdom zealot kind of thing. They're living in a van. They don't have, they don't have any health
right.
insurance. They're completely depleted, but it's like, oh, I'm doing it for, okay, that's extreme, right? Because we need
Yeah,
to take care of ourselves, right? So there's taking care of yourself and making sure that if you have a service, there isn't, you're not giving everything away. You're not giving everything you have, away for free. But I think in addition to that, or separate from that,
Yeah.
there is the component of service to others. And so what do we do without any expectation? How much do like, what do we do in our lives where we're giving without expectation? And again, I think that this is about balance, so
Yeah.
we're not saying be a zealot, live in your van, and whatever.
No.
No, no,
Right, right, right.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
that's zealotry. That's like, oh, I do this
Yeah.
healing work, but I don't charge anybody. I live in my
Yeah.
van. I don't have any health insurance. My teeth are falling out, and I think I have something wrong with me, but I can't go see the
Yes.
doctor because of blah blah blah. Oh, no, 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 not that. Not
No,
that.
no, no, no.
You have to take care of yourself. So you have to make sure that you are, that you're well fed, that you have shelter, that you
Hmm.
have a way of keeping yourself healthy, that
Hmm.
you have that kind of nourishment in your life. And then, and honestly, if somebody is that depleted, I don't know how much they can give, or what the
Exactly.
quality of their giving
No.
is in
Yeah.
the first place. But I think there is um this idea of charity. It's like I have been blessed with health, or with this or with that, and I want to give in some way to others who are
Hmm.
less, who have less than me. That
Hmm.
is, it's a generosity of spirit. It's a
Yeah.
generosity of heart. It's not expecting anything in return. And that's what I see as service to others. But I think, like you were saying, it gets all mushed
It does
and
get almost. It
confused.
does. Yeah. 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 It does. It
Yeah.
does. And it's funny because service, I just saw this beautiful community as you were talking,
Mm.
when you volunteer and bringing the
Mm-hmm.
community together. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
that to me is just so beautiful when that happens,
It's a beautiful
you know?
experience, and people, I mean, it was a joyful experience. I mean, we were
Yeah.
out in the heat. It was
Yeah.
hot, it's like we're lifting stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they gave me something very light because I'm still healing my foot.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
she's limping, so
Yeah.
we're not going to give her anything. It was kind of funny. But I was able to participate in the ways that I could, and it was like this joyful. People are having a great time. We're laughing. We're smiling, we're greeting people. People are greeting us and thanking, God bless you, and all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And it was just a joyful experience to be a part of. And again, not depleting, because I'm not
No.
putting it all on my shoulders, but working with a group of people who are sharing that experience together. So we get
And
to, you know,
I think it's about the joy in it, right? So
absolutely.
volunteer. So
Yep.
my volunteer happenings are like, I did one with them. It's called the Project Linus, where you make
Mm-hmm.
blankets and you become a
Oh, nice.
blanketeer. Yeah, and you can do
A
anybody can do
blanketeer.
a blanketeer, they call us, and you can do it. You don't even have to sew. It's like the fleece blankets, and you
Yeah.
just cut, and you tie them in a knot,
Yeah.
and like you take it to Joann Fabric, and they have a box for it. So, or you can make these elaborate quilts, or you can knit something
Yeah.
like like it's a great. That makes me,
Mm-hmm.
because you know why? I love blankets actually.
Mm.
I don't care if it's hot or cold. It's like I love a blanket on me.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's why the joy of it is like I love blankets and I have so many of them. Yeah, so I think it's about the joy. And when I was part of the Catholic Church, I would iron the linens for the priest who used the linens on
Yeah.
the altar.
Yeah.
And to me, that just felt like, I don't know, I was a disciple of Jesus. Like I was just,
Mm-hmm.
helping
Mm-hmm.
with that. And I love to iron. And it was just a beautiful, you have to starch them and,
Mm-hmm.
and just, the way they fold them a particular way. And
Yeah.
it just, it was just beautiful for me to do that as
Mm-hmm.
part of the church. And,
Mm-hmm.
I was a
Mm-hmm.
catechism teacher, volunteered that, Eucharistic minister. So, I mean, there was
Yep.
all joy in that.
Yeah. Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And that's the thing. And the thing is that if you are coming from a place where you are, you've cared for
Yeah.
yourself, you're well cared for, and you have you have a life that feels abundant,
Hmm.
abundant spiritually, emotionally, and whatever, then absolutely to have it be a part of your spiritual practice, to share that abundance in a joyful way. I'm going to share a service. I'm going to help feed people or make blankets for people.
Yeah.
There's for people who have less abundance in their lives than I do. I want to share the
Yeah.
blessing. That is such an important part of of any practice, and I see it more in religious organizations than I do like in the alternative spiritual community. I think like there's like this I don't, it's just my observation. And again, Amy and I are not here as experts. We don't
No.
claim to have all of the answers. We've had experiences, and we've
Hmm.
made observations, and we've learned some things along the way, and we're just sharing it. And so we're not saying, oh, we have the ultimate truth or anything like that. We're just kind of sharing our experience. But from my observation in the spiritual community, and I know that this has been also true for me, is this difficulty with finding balance.
Yeah.
Finding, being anchored, finding balance. So finding balance and not falling into being zealots,
Yeah.
finding balance and not allowing yourself to be completely depleted, finding balance and not being so self-absorbed, that it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like,
That's
look at me, a yoga queen, and look at the
yes.
clothes that I'm wearing and the bumper sticker I have on my car. Like there's like this
uh,
there's this difficulty with balance. Sometimes I've observed
Yeah.
in the spiritual communities, and I'm I don't know, I don't claim to have the answers for why that is. I just have seen it as a pretty widespread. Like this is something that I think a lot of people in the alternative spiritual communities need to kind of, I think we need to be self-reflective about, like, why,
I think
you
you
know,
do.
how do we find the balance? And I think the Buddhists, like Buddha would say, find the middle way, and then find the middle way of that, and find the middle way of that. Like Buddha, you do see it in other practices, like the importance of balance,
Oh,
because as
yes.
humans, we can be out of balance in anything, even things that we perceive as really good.
Yes.
Inside like service to others, we can be totally out of balance with that. And we think we're doing all of this good, but really what we're doing is it's like this ego thing. So why is it I'm out of balance? And it usually has to do with
It
something that
just you
needs
have to
it needs to something that needs to be healed within us. I
yeah.
think
But
that
you have to
causes
be
us to be out of
aware.
balance.
You have to
Yeah,
be aware
oh,
of that
absolutely,
imbalance.
absolutely. That's
Because I wasn't aware
mm-hmm,
of it. But
mm-hmm.
have a story I want to share because I
Please.
think that it just came to me. And I think it's about the people who put it out there, like, look what I did.
Yeah.
That to me,
That
I
that
was taught.
reminds me of a Bible story too, about the ones who were showy about what they were giving,
Yes.
and then
Oh, good.
judgmental of the woman who gave a penny.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So
Mm,
it started when I was a kid, and I don't know if you
okay.
remember this in Catholic church, but the rice bowl. Do you remember the rice bowl? So the
Refresh my
church,
memory.
okay, so I have no idea, but it would when you went to church, it was a certain week during the year, and they would have these rice bowls. They were cardboard flat pieces, and you would put this rice bowl together and it
Uh-huh.
went to the money. So every day I would put pennies, I would put all my money in there. And
Uh-huh.
then you would take it back to the church and they would distribute the money, but who knows where that went. But anyways, it felt good to just like all these poor, they show kids that are poor and not fed. So it
Mm-hmm.
was to feed the
Mm-hmm.
poor.
Right.
Um, but I had to tell you about a story growing up where we would around Christmas time get an envelope of cash typed, the Signor family, and it was in our mailbox. And we had no idea where this money came from.
Wow.
No idea. And, you know, um, we kind of found out maybe because it would be, then my dad and my parents were able to buy, the kids toys or whatever, for Christmas. It happened when we were really young and then it stopped. But we had a feeling that it was our priest giving us
Mm-hmm.
this money
Mm-hmm.
because of, this is the weird thing, detective, because of the typing on the envelope on the outside matched the typing of the bulletin that
Ooh.
he would type the bulletin from.
Ooh.
So that's our theory on that story. But
Mm.
again, no, he didn't sign it. He just
Mm-hmm.
knew that we needed it
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, maybe a
Yeah.
turkey, maybe, Christmas
Yeah.
dinner,
Uh,
so yeah.
yeah.
So it's the thoughtless in it, the
Mm-hmm.
thoughtfulness and the thoughtless of not
Mm-hmm.
thoughtless, no,
Mm-hmm.
thoughtlessness of it. Yeah.
Thoughtfulness.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
yeah.
Of just it doesn't matter where it came from. This is for
Mm-hmm.
you. It
Mm-hmm.
was hard for my dad to keep it because again, receiving. What about that?
Mm. Well, yeah.
Receiving. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of us have a tough time receiving. We can give
Mm-hmm.
all we can give.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to receive.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
had, yeah,
That is, I mean, we can say a lot about that. That's like a
yeah.
whole other topic that maybe
That's a
we
whole
can
other
talk about
giving
in
and
another
receiving.
show.
Yeah,
Definitely. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners would relate to that, is the
yeah.
difficulty
Giving and
in receiving.
receiving.
And what is that about? And I think that so much of the work, people say, you've got to do the work. So much of the work is about just asking ourselves the questions,
It
as
is.
things that, being there's a word that I would use with my students, and it was something we were striving for, and that's being metacognitive. And
Oh,
metacognitive is about our self-awareness of our thoughts and our feelings as they're happening.
wow. I like
So
that.
it's kind of like, I'm having this thought. Why am I having this thought?
Yes,
Where
I
did
do that
this
all the
thought come
time.
from?
All the
I'm
time.
having this feeling. Why am I feeling
Yeah,
this way? Where does it
yeah,
come from? And it was kind of like this brand new concept for my students. And I assured them that most adults have a difficult time with
yes.
this concept, but to the extent that they could be metacognitive about their thoughts and
Mhm.
feelings,
I love
it
it.
would really help them grow in ways that, were, you know, exponential.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I think that that is something that is important, is
Hmm.
to be, is to ask ourselves those questions as they go along.
Yeah,
And it could be
yeah.
something simple. You're driving along and you're having this thought or you're having this feeling, and just simply asking, where did that come
Well,
from? Why am I having that thought?
exactly.
Why am I
Oh my
having,
gosh, I do
where's,
that.
yeah, where can I trace that, and to just kind of trace it back, because that's an opportunity for healing,
It
for
is. It
being
is
aware
to
and for healing. So,
write in your
um,
journal.
yep,
To write good questions to write in your journal.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we want to take a look at, I have, do we want to take a
Yes.
look? I'm not going to share my screen yet, but I wanted to, Amy and I wanted to share that, we're talking about the concept of service to self and service to others. And so, and we want to, and again, just to clarify, service to self is not the same as self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care, taking care of yourself, that's not service to self. Service to self is really a mindset that says that my worldview is that I come first and that I need to serve myself. And so it is a worldview that basically does not acknowledge our connection to other human beings. Service to others is kind of a practice that nurtures our connection to other human beings, and
Yeah.
so that's what makes it such an important part of any practice. But self-care is not the same as service to self. Self-care is, making sure that you take care of your body,
Hmm.
mind, and spirit. So,
Yeah, that depletion, when you
Yeah,
feel
to,
that
to not
depletion.
be
Yeah.
yeah, to not be depleted, to not fall into martyrdom or zealotry, which will
Hmm.
only deplete you. So I just wanted to go through some of the things that we found that have to
Yeah.
do with the different religions and their perspective on service to others. So this is the Jewish teaching on service, and this is in Isaiah 58. Um, is not the fast that is not this the fast that I choose, to loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them, and not to
Mhm.
hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. So you see how this is very similar to what we may have heard in the Christian faith. Here's the Muslim teaching on service. I call to witness the early hours of morning and the night when dark and still your Lord has neither left you nor despises you. What is to come is better for you than what has gone before. For your Lord will certainly give you, and will give you, and you will be content. Did he not find you an orphan to take care of you? Did he not find you perplexed and show you the way? Did he not find you poor and enrich you? So do not oppress the orphan and do not drive the beggar away, and keep recounting the favors of your Lord. So in this teaching, it's like, no, you've been the orphan, you've been the beggar, you've been the one who needed clothing. And so
Mm,
remember that. Um, the Baha'i teaching on service
mm,
says one amongst one amongst his teachings is this, that love and good faith must so dominate the human heart that men will regard the stranger as a familiar friend, the malefactor as one of their own, the alien even as a loved one, the enemy as a companion dear and close. The Christian
mm.
teaching, and this is something that you guys are probably
Yeah.
more familiar with. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, come, you that are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you took care of me. I was in prison, and you visited me. Then the
Hmm.
righteous will answer him, Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison, or
Mm,
visited you? And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these who are members of my family, you did it to me.
mm.
So a great teaching, from our favorite, our
Yeah.
favorite teacher, Jesus, or Yeshua, I think
Yeah.
as his name was.
Yeah. That's
That
definitely.
is, it's beautiful. The
Yeah.
Hindu teaching, right? The Hindu teaching on services from the Bhagavad Gita. It says, at the beginning, mankind and the obligation of self-service were created together. Through selfless service, you will always be fruitful and find the fulfillment of your desires, as is the promise of the Creator. So that I love very much. And here is the Sikh teaching.
Mm,
The individual who performs selfless service without thought of reward shall attain God's salvation. And of course, finally, the Buddhist teaching on service is, if if brings new as I know the fruit of sharing gifts, they would not enjoy their use without sharing them, nor would the taint of stinginess obsess the heart and stay there, even if it were their last bit, their last morsel of food. They would not enjoy its use without sharing it, if there were anyone to receive it. So here you see such parallels in
Oh,
all of these
yeah.
teachings, and
Yeah.
sometimes right down to the parables and the examples
Yeah.
that that are given about the importance of service to others, because it is so connected to um, this, this fundamental belief and understanding that we are all connected, that we are all one human
And that
family.
the one I didn't, oh, this one, this one I printed because, well, the Matthew 25 I love because that reminds me of my dad so much. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like our
Well,
household.
and
You
your
know,
dad
that
was
was my,
such a, yeah, your dad was such an example of that.
he
Like
was.
he walked his talk.
He did.
He
He
walked his talk.
actually
Yeah.
did and didn't. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
love that song, Whatsoever You Do to the least of my people, you do unto me. And
Absolutely.
then
It's
it
the
goes
same
into
thing.
the
Hmm.
hungry and the thirsty.
Yeah.
Um, but this one I found, above all, love each other deeply. And it says here that above all, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use
Mm.
whatever gift you have received to serve others. And that's kind of what you said in the last one, the gifts.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like they're faithful stewards of God's grace. Like our gifts are stewards of God's grace. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
we have so many gifts, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we need to start using them. Sometimes we
Yes.
forget. We
Hmm.
forget to use them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Peter also goes on to tell us that we're to use the gifts we receive to serve one another. Think of your
Yes.
best talents and skills, and then consider ways you can use those abilities to help others.
Yep. Boom.
Boom. Like
Hmm.
that to me was like, yes,
Hmm.
exactly. I mean, we forget that. And because our ego gets in the way. And I'm
Yep.
doing this because,
Hmm.
blah, 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 whatever it is. It's
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
no,
Hmm.
that, that is exactly go out.
Hmm.
It,
Hmm. Yeah,
we
and to give, and to give joyfully,
Yes,
to give
yes. Make sure
joyfully.
you love what you're doing, right? A lot of people
Absolutely.
are in service
Hmm.
jobs that
Hmm.
don't love what they're doing.
Yeah, that's not,
That's another.
that's not service. Yeah, that's
No,
misery. Yeah.
that's
Um,
misery. Yeah.
and I just want to point out that, as you were speaking, I thought of even like pre-Christian, going back to the ancient Greeks, right? When they had
Yeah.
like the Greek gods and so forth, and each god had its own dominion over certain aspects of life. Okay, so there's this concept in ancient Greece called Xenia, and it doesn't have a translation into English, but basically what it is it is the concept of hospitality. That,
Mm,
back then there were no hotels or anything, and people
yeah.
sometimes needed to
Yeah.
go from one village to another. They needed to travel, and then it came nightfall, and there was a house, there was a farm, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so there was something in the culture that said that if a stranger knocks on your door and they are
Yeah.
they're a traveler, they are a stranger, you let them in,
Yep.
you feed them, you clothe them, you
Mm-hmm.
allow them to bathe, and all of that, and provide them a place to sleep for the night. And this was Xenia, and it was such an important part of the Greek culture that the goddess Hera, Zeus's wife, right? Hera wasn't no joke, right? She was up there, Hera, right? It was Hera was the goddess of Xenia. So it was such an important part of Greek culture that Hera was the goddess of Xenia in ancient
Oh,
Greek culture. So even before Christianity, there was this sense that of connection and our commitment and our obligation to other human beings.
Yeah. And
So
again, Patty, another story. Wow, they're all coming flying through. But again, we had the hobo of our town, Jack
yeah.
Miller, and my dad let him come in. We fed him. Sometimes he
Mm-hmm.
would sleep in the basement and or give him rides. I mean, we would see Jack
Mm-hmm.
as we're driving, and if he needed a ride, we'd give him a ride, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
again, my dad was, oh my God, God bless him. I mean,
Yep.
he really was a teacher, and I must have really focused in on that, paying attention to
Yep.
his what he was doing. And at the time, you're like, okay, you let Jack Miller, that's fine, you know. I mean, he was stinky and smelly, and but
Mm-hmm.
we didn't, you know, it was almost like we didn't care. Come on in,
Yep.
Jack. We'll
Yep.
feed you, you know. And he
Yep.
had conversation. His IQ was
Mm-hmm.
like around, you know, below 80. So he, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have, but I could just see his sweet face. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you just look into people's eyes and you're like, you are
Yeah.
such a soul. And
Yeah.
he was safe. He it wasn't like my dad was bringing in,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, your dad had a
weird
sense of
guys.
who's safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, your dad knew better. He
You
knew.
know, yeah,
Yeah,
he knew, we all knew. So that's kind of a cool thing. That's why that whole thing of Matthew 25 is like, that's my dad.
yeah, yeah,
That's my
yeah.
dad.
He
But
def he definitely walked his
yeah, and the
talk.
hospitality. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
many
really
people.
such
We're
a
not the
running.
only ones. Many people in the town
Oh,
had
we're
Jack
took care
Miller.
of Jack. Took
Yes,
care
we
of
all
Jack.
did.
Right,
We all
right. And
did.
so, and this was something that that people did collectively, as a
Yeah,
way of
community.
Jack was everybody's responsibility.
He was. He
We
was.
we have to make sure Jack is okay.
Yeah, he'd push this buggy around. He'd collect
Mm-hmm.
wire, copper wire,
Yeah,
you know, for money. And, you know,
yeah.
he was a sweet man.
That's an
He was
awesome
a sweet
story.
man.
That's an
Yeah,
awesome
yeah,
story.
he was
Yeah.
sweet. I have a great
Um,
picture of him. I'll have to put it up.
you'll have to
Oh,
do that.
I
And
will
speaking of,
because he's just
yeah.
sweet.
And speaking of pictures, I know that people are still
Oh,
waiting
yes.
for the picture of my family crest. It is coming. And again, and the reason why it's taking so long is because the family members that have a copy of it have put it at the bottom of a drawer somewhere,
Oh,
in some
no.
box somewhere. You can tell it's not hanging on the
It's
wall
not
or on a
hanging up
t-shirt
on a
like
t-shirt.
Amy's fancy pants family crest. It's tucked in on the bottom of a box somewhere. So it's taking a little bit of time to find it, but I promise you,
Yeah.
we will have that
Yes, we have
on our
to.
website. Do you still want me to show
Yeah,
you
let's
this little?
do. Yeah.
Okay, so there is, and I did put it up on our Facebook page. There is this very special place in the world now, and different religions have different pilgrimage places, right? So for instance, Mecca, is a place of pilgrimage. For the Muslims, the Vatican is a place of pilgrimage, and there are other places of pilgrimage too for Catholics and for
Yeah.
Protestants
Yeah.
and so forth. And they tend to be holy places where you go, and the journey is about deepening your faith and in your religion, or just deepening your faith in general. So the Sikhs have a pilgrimage site in India called the Golden Temple. And so I'm going to, we have, in one thing that was so impressive, and of course you can imagine, I mean, because food and feeding people is like so
I
special
know.
to me.
This is
I
so
have
great.
such admiration for the Sikhs. At their Golden Temple, they have the largest free community kitchen in the world. They serve free meals to upwards of 100,000 people a day. That's right, folks. I'm not making that up. 100,000
Mm,
people a
wow.
day. The numbers are staggering, and it is all done through volunteers in the community who come out every
Mm,
day as part of their giving, as part of their service. And so we're going to show you a
yeah.
little clip of that,
Yes.
but I want to
One of the
share my screen so I can show you a
yes.
picture
Uh-huh.
of the Golden Temple. So I'm going to just share screen here, and we'll try to describe it for those of you who are just listening. we will also describe it. So give me a second here. I'm going to bring this picture up if I can. There we go.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so here is the Golden Temple.
Mm,
Now, this is in Amritsar in India. It's kind of like in a northwestern part of India. It was built in the 1500s, and it is called the Golden Temple because it literally is a big portion of it. You know, the top half of it is gold plated. There is about 750 pounds of gold that cover the top of this temple. And people look at this and they think, you know, well, why would you do this? This is not a rich part of the country. These people are not known to have lots of money, but it is a statement about the value of their faith, in that they believe that if they were going to put gold anywhere, that they would put it on the most precious place, which is their place of prayer and worship.
mhm,
So this is the Golden Temple. Now it's built, and you see there's a moat around it. So you have to walk out on a walkway to come into the temple. Now this white building over here to the side, outside of the moat, is where the community kitchen is. So, but there are tens of thousands of people who visit this every day. And so for those of you, I mean, like, and Amy and I were talking about this, you've got a temple into which people come to pray, to worship, right? To
mhm,
bless, to bring their love and their honor into this temple. So you have all of that energy in a
mhm,
place that is covered with the most conductive metal
mm,
in the world. All right. So if you think about that energetically, and there's a moat that surrounds it. And so water is also conductive. And so people go into this moat, and they say that the waters are healing. And I would believe that.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
would believe that the waters here around this are very, very healing. So this is you know, what the Golden Temple looks like. And as you can see, it was built very consciously. It's interesting to really look at this. If you kind of know about energy, you know, if you think about things energetically, you think,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is a really powerful place. So there's a little video. So, you know, people visit the Golden Temple all of the time, and we wanted to show you, it's 4 minutes, and we want to just show you this gentleman who visited the Golden Temple, and he kind of takes you inside. He takes you
Yeah.
inside the kitchen, the
Yeah.
where people are fed, and kind of what this operation is. And I just want you to kind of pay attention to the people that he meets and the kind of energy, and he even speaks to it, the kind of energy in this place, and you get a sense of a real collective joy
Yeah. Yeah.
in this place. So I'm just gonna play the video. You guys enjoy. It's about 4 minutes long.
Everyone, Sat Sri Akal. Today we are at Harmandir Sahib, or globally known as the Golden Temple. Today we're going to take a look inside this temple, what it means to the Sikh community, and explore the world's largest community kitchen.
Wow.
So we have just taken off our shoes. The next step is to ensure we are clean. So we wash our hands. One important thing that I have to mention is anyone who enters the temple must cover their hair beforehand. So to get into the temple, you walk through a small stream of water, and that is the holy water that cleans the feet. Right in front of us, the Golden Temple. It is absolutely magical. So we are here on the weekend where visitors can reach up to 600,000 a day. So you can just feel the energy and all these people coming together with one spirit. You feel just this warmth around you the whole time that you're walking here. There are 4 doors on the temple, one on each side, to represent welcoming. So no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, no matter what your religion, this is open for you. This is a home for you. We are now at the main entrance of the temple, where Sikhs from around the world come to pay their respects to Guru Granth Sahib Ji, which is the holy scripture that they all come to see and to pay respects to. So one important core of the Sikh community, how all this is able to be maintained, and how the Sikh community around the world is able to thrive is that every Sikh shares a part of their wealth. And if they don't have the capacity to donate money, they donate 10% of their time to supporting the Sikh community. So speaking about donations, we're about to visit the largest community kitchen in the world where anyone can come and eat for free. So as soon as you enter, you see all this wood that's used to start the fire to cook the dal. It is incredible. Here we are in front of one of the dal pots, and this is up to 300 kilograms of dal. Wow, it is heavy. This guy is strong. Now we're in one of the areas where they prepare the vegetables, where volunteers come to cut up the vegetables to prepare for the stew to be made to give to people. And my eyes are burning, watering up so bad. So now I've been invited to help to prepare the ginger for the stew. So what I've been told is that people come from around the world to be able to contribute their time and their energy to give service here, and to be able to support and help is a big honor. And now we're gonna go to the chapati section. So here we have the machine, and as you can see, it gets cut up into small pieces, then it gets flattened out here, then it goes into the cooker there. And here is the final result. All these chapatis. Now we're gonna take it through to get some ghee on it. And here's what's really cool. There's benches here. Anyone can just sit down and start working. So here we are in the second bakery. Here, everything from the preparation to the cooking is done by hand. So we have just seen the whole process of how the food is prepared. Now it's time to see how it's served. Let's go to the dining hall. Hello, are you hungry? I'm starving. So now we're in the lunch hall, getting served our first little bit.
Take this one, like this. Only one.
Thank you. So here we have our chapati, here we have our dal. This is where it all comes together, where everyone, regardless of where you're from, how much you have, what you believe in, you all sit here as equals and enjoy a meal together. Bismillah.
Wow.
Very tasty. They say to come and eat here at the Golden Temple because the journey of this food is prepared with love, it's served with love, and it's eaten with love. When that is at the core of everything, the meal is enjoyed with all your heart. So I've just finished my visit to the Golden Temple and the world's largest community kitchen. I was just welcomed with open arms and be part of this community. And I think we can all take a great lesson from that, to welcome people with open arms, live side by side from you, to learn. And it is only when you build those bridges of love that you conquer anything that can divide us. Thank you all so much for welcoming me, and I can't wait to visit again. Much love. God bless.
All
Wow.
right. Yeah.
So beautiful, Patti.
It really is. And there are a lot of videos if people really want to check it out. I was just so impressed. I'm impressed, like the Sikhs are beautiful people.
Yeah.
And again, that is at the core of their spiritual practice. And you
Yes.
can see it at their pilgrimage site, that at the Golden Temple. It has the largest free community kitchen in the world, and they are not, and this is a scratch kitchen. I appreciate a scratch kitchen. I
Yes.
had a little cafe with a scratch kitchen, and it's a tremendous amount of work. And so you have
And
all of these people coming together to cut up onions and ginger and all of this and roll out
yes.
dough and everything. It's all made. And when he said it's made with love, it's served with love, it's eaten with love, that's an awful lot of love going on in that space. And so
It
I
just
think,
warms my heart. And I love the fact that they even have machines as their service,
yes.
that helps them.
Yeah, it
Because,
does. Those
you
are
gotta have that.
relatively new. Those are
Yeah.
relatively new. They used to do all of it. See, because the kitchen keeps expanding, it keeps growing, and there are more and more people who come.
Right.
And so they had to
though.
incorporate that machine to make the bread. But notice how they still have people making bread by hand as well.
I
So
know they still have a lot of steps to do, but those
yeah.
machines must really help out a lot.
Yeah,
I love them.
they do. Yeah, they
Wow.
do. So I just wanted to share that. That's such a, and like you said, it's a real heartwarming example of service to others as a core part of a spiritual practice. And so
Yeah.
however it is, I mean, you know, with your blankets that you make, or me
I
with,
know.
making food, serving food, distributing
Yes.
food, that's such an important part. So how whatever it is, I think that service to others, not martyrdom,
No.
not zealotry, but service to others, service that is joyful. If you look at the faces of the people who were cutting those onions or rolling out the dough,
Yes.
they were doing it in community. They were sitting with family members and friends and with strangers and participating in the joyful act of giving and of
Yeah.
service. And that's an experience that I think brings us closer to the creator, brings us closer
Yes.
to each other. And that really is what
Yeah.
a spiritual practice is about, isn't it? So,
Beautiful. It's beautiful. And can I end with a quote from Mother Teresa,
of course.
whom I love? I love her, even though she has been criticized, but I still enjoy her quotes. But she says, "We ourselves feel that what we are doing is just a drop in the ocean, but the
Mhm.
ocean would be less because of the missing drop."
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter if we're feeding hundreds of thousands of people, just one little
Yeah.
thing
Yeah. Yeah.
is
And
not, you know,
yeah, no, absolutely. That every, and people say this about, acts of kindness,
yeah,
too. It's the same thing. Um, I will say this about Mother Teresa. In her later years, I think that Mother Teresa realized that perhaps there was an aspect of zealotry in her service.
yeah, yeah.
In that maybe she could have been a little bit more in balance with her sense of service. And I think like if she had any regret at all, and I don't think she had many, but like if she had any regret at all, it probably was that she had given to the point of
Yeah.
perhaps depleting
Yeah.
depleting herself. And that in her own way, or her own way of expressing it, I think that she may have wanted to be a little more in balance with how much she
Hmm.
gave to the community. But still,
But still, we can't take away her
still,
downloads that she got, the
absolutely.
downloads that came
Mhm.
through her
Mhm.
and being able to share with us. I mean,
Absolutely.
it was always beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, no, a beautiful spirit.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of
Wow, this
fun.
was, I know, it
I
was.
hope that, yeah, I hope our listeners got something from it. If you are listening on a podcast and you only
Mm,
heard but didn't get to see some of the things that we were sharing, if you kind of come on over to our Facebook page, you'll be able to see it, or see it on
mhm.
YouTube or
Yep.
Rumble, if you want to check it out in those places and actually see the video of of some of the things we were
Yeah.
sharing today.
And we
Yeah.
also wanted to talk about next week. We both
Hmm.
went to see the movie Sound of Freedom.
Yes.
And that, wow.
Yeah.
We're
That's
going to
wow.
talk.
So
I
much to
know.
talk
It's like,
about. And we are
yeah.
both children people. Like
Yes.
we've already said this. We're
Yes.
two people who our commitment to children is paramount.
Yes.
And so this struck us both, and has
Mm,
struck millions of people
yeah.
in it to the heart. And so we're going to be talking about this movie next
So go
week.
see it. Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, we encourage you to take the opportunity to see it. We'll touch on some of the
Yeah.
controversies, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about all of it. And it should be a really good a really good show next week
And I
when
don't,
we dive into that.
yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to be discussing Sound of Freedom
Mhm.
next show. We hope that you have enjoyed this week's episode. If you haven't already, come on over to our Facebook page, Pink Moon Lodge. Become a what is it? A follower? What are you
Remember,
on a
follower?
Facebook page? Member? Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Do that. Click
Yeah.
join
Click.
on
Click
our
like.
Facebook page. Yeah, and with the benefit of being on our Facebook page is that you get to see our episodes generally a couple of days before everyone else. So
Yeah.
our Facebook members get to see, for instance, podcast, our show on a Monday, and everybody else gets to see it on Wednesday. So you're always a little bit ahead of everyone else, and
Yeah.
that's a benefit. And you also get to see some of the other goofy, silly things that we put up on our Facebook page. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
encourage
Yeah.
you to join our Facebook page, to follow us on YouTube and Rumble, subscribe, and that will certainly help us expand our viewership and also put us in a position to start live streaming. And so we're going to be doing that soon as well. So
Yes.
yeah, we appreciate you guys
We
coming along with us, and sharing the journey. It's always such a joy for us to spend time with each other and
Yes.
to spend time with you every week as
It
well.
is. Thank you.
You want to close out, Amy?
Yes.
Want to have a
Thank you,
final word?
everyone. Stay magical, everyone.
Stay magical.
magical.
We will see you
Yes.
next time. Thank you so much for joining
Bye.
us. Bye.